Automatic photo boxes aren't just coming to Walt Disney World, they're already there, and they're growing in number. Here's what you need to know about them, where they are, where they aren't, where they may be, and everything that's wrong with them. If you've been watching my channel for any length of time, then you know that as a former Photopass photographer, I'm not a big fan of automatic photo boxes for a number of reasons. On my recent trip to Walt Disney World, though, I decided, you know what? These things are coming in, they're looking like they're going to be there a while, let's go ahead and give them a try. And I got to visit Tinkerbell and Kylo Ren and give the photo boxes a fair shot. In fact, with Tinkerbell, I didn't even use my camera. I went ahead and just let the photo boxes do their thing and see if they were actually going to be a good thing or a bad thing and try to give them a fair, honest evaluation. So I'm going to show you some video that I took that are going to show you the boxes in action. I'm going to let you see the pictures that I got when I visited Tinkerbell at Expo Hall at Magic Kingdom, as well as Kylo Ren over at the Star Wars launch bay. The boxes are already installed for Mickey and Minnie. They're already installed over at the Adventure Outpost in Adventureland and Anna and Elsa in Epcot, and a few other places. They haven't been activated yet in those, but you're going to see these coming in more and more of the fixed character locations, and it's something that's definitely happening. So this way you can see what they're really going to do and what they did for me. So look for them to appear in all of those locations, as well as don't be surprised if here in the future you also see them show up at Pete's Sideshow tent where Goofy and Daisy and Donald and Pluto are meeting people. They're also talking about having them in several other locations. They were actually scheduled for Character Spot over at Epcot as well, but because that's all getting leveled, that's going to change. But this definitely looks like a trend that Disney is heading in with their character Photopass locations. And it's something that you're going to see spread. Disney's very obviously spending a lot of money investing in this. See, these boxes are basically automatic boxes set up in fixed locations. The cameras that are installed essentially have two lenses. There's a top one and a lower one with a little bit different fixed focal range on them. They pretty much just randomly shoot photos. The ones I saw were on a random timer, and about every 5 seconds or so it took another picture, regardless of what was actually happening in front of it, really oblivious to what was happening in front of it. It was just kind of shooting along, hoping that it might magically somehow get that shot that it should have gotten. So let me show you, this is what it looked like over at the Tinkerbell location.
Okay. So if you watch the box, you can see underneath the two lenses, like that, a little white flash, and you'll see the outside flash, and it's just a random timing. It just continually shoots. And who knows if it's getting a decent picture or not. It's just taking a lot.
Now, as you can see, the cameras of Tinkerbell are kind of painted and themed to look like they're part of the wall. If you go over to Star Wars Launch Bay, they look a little bit more like this. So again, they fit in. They're trying to theme these things so that they fit in with the rooms that they're at. So hopefully you don't really notice them, but at the same time, they're definitely there. The poor photographer at Mickey was actually standing right in front of the cameras there. And yeah, they look like a bookshelf, but it's still pretty obvious that it's the camera. And then after you're done taking your pictures, you walk out into the hall and there's another box there where you were supposed to scan your Magic Band or your ticket if you've got one. And honestly, it kind of left me wondering a little bit that what if you got a family that they just don't want to scan their Magic Band? Maybe they're oblivious. Gee, like that never happens at Disney. And they just walk right on past the box and don't scan. Well, then this next family is going to end up with all these extra pictures of people that they don't know. That's something a real photographer could very easily fix by scanning a card. You just end up with this mess, and it slows people down, and they miss the boxes. And I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to reduce as many cast members as possible to cut budgets. That's really what it is. It's let's spend money so we can eliminate people and save more money later on. I would really be curious to know how many people have not scanned their Magic Bands to get their pictures at the end and how much of a issue that has caused. And then the poor characters, when they're dealing with these boxes, they're actually stuck in this location. In fact, if you go to the Kylo Ren area, there's actually a place painted on the floor that he is supposed to stay in and the guests are supposed to stay in because that's the center of the cameras. For Tinkerbell, it was more an area where the walls were kind of built out a little bit, and so it was fairly obvious where she was supposed to stay. It did make it kind of awkward because the wall is literally right next to the queue, and so there was a spot where I had put my hand on the wall while I was waiting to be next. Attendant actually came over and said, "Hey, could you step back a little bit? Otherwise you'll be in their picture." So the camera's not even focused well enough that it's not catching the queue area, which is kind of awkward. And then, like I said, the poor characters, they can't move around. Well, you know, you get a rambunctious child, they're going to be all over the place, and the character's going to be going, "Come here!" And then poor Kylo Ren, well, I mean, he's just Kylo. He's got a bad attitude anyways. He just walked out of the box, and yeah, we got a couple interesting pictures of his back. I'll show you that later. But trying to trap the characters in a box just so hinders the interaction. They're already trying to push people through, and not good for that either. And here's the type of photos you're going to get. I'm actually going to show you all of the photos that I got with Tinkerbell, all 18 of them, as well as all the ones that we got with Kylo Ren, which there's another 13 there. And then with Kylo, we had a friend with us who grabbed my camera at the very end and snapped a couple more quick pictures. And you'll get to see the difference. Even just a random quick snap between what the boxes are getting in that. So this is my first shot with Tink. Yeah, nice shot of my back. Doesn't it look good? Then we start a series of photos that all look pretty similar. I mean, you can see where the box is hoping against hope to actually catch something interesting in a lucky moment, but it has no clue what it's shooting, when it's shooting, or what's going on. So here's Tink that kind of looks like she's doing the robot, but as you can see, it's just us talking and talking. Oh yeah, and still talking. And not doing anything. Oh, and then Tink was actually showing me something in her hair and playing with it a little bit, but honestly, they're photos that aren't worth shooting, let alone giving to a guest. I would be embarrassed as a photographer to have a series of photos like this. A photographer would also notice that this isn't a great exposure on any of these, which is really sad since it's programmed in and should be getting a perfect exposure, and it's not. Then you get to the end when it takes a photo of us getting ready to pose. Not posing yet, we're getting ready to. Awkward! Before finally, out of 18 shots, it gets a couple that are okay. That I could have handed my phone or camera to the attendant and gotten a picture just as good as the box did. There's nothing here that would convince a guest to buy a photo, let alone a group of them, that they didn't already get taken on their own camera. Then we get to Kylo Ren. And Kylo, honestly, is one of my favorite character encounters at Disney. He's an awesome character. He can talk, he can interact in ways, and then they try to stick him in a box and they kind of kill him. And yes, the cameras, again. Don't ask me what's going on in this photo. I really don't know. We were just kind of walking in and no one's looking even at Kylo or the box or anything. It just randomly took a shot. And I'm not exactly sure what the second one is either. Okay, third photo may be worth taking. We're obviously laughing about something, but it would have been nice to have shifted to the right just a little bit so we could see more than Kylo's back. Then a couple of pose shots, and by the way, notice the exposure's off again, and we're actually slightly out of focus. It's a fixed camera. The focus shouldn't be off. Hello? That should never happen. Also, as you can see, my one friend's a cast member. Her lanyard's hanging there. A real photographer would have gone, hey, red flag? Cast member ID shouldn't be showing. Can you put it away? That's a big no-no. But a box, it has no clue if there's a red flag. And if you've ever seen my video about all the rules a Photopass photographer has to follow, there's a number of things that the boxes are going to be oblivious on and miss, and you're going to start having inappropriate pictures coming out, and this is not a good thing. Okay, back to Kylo, walking again, and here's where a real photographer could have been nice to help coach a pose instead of just an awkward standing there, and actually caught the photo when everybody was actually posing, as opposed to this awkward in-between state that they aren't quite there yet. Instead, these shots aren't it. And compare those photos with the ones that my friend took on my camera, and hey, I can actually see what Kylo was trying to do with the automatic camera and point his finger at it. And sorry, my pose one actually has them both looking at the camera. And I love this candid with me and Kylo. It's something a box couldn't catch. No, it's not the greatest shot. It isn't perfectly in focus and exposed, but it was caught on the fly very suddenly by my friend Whereas if a photographer had been standing there ready to go, he would have been able to catch this perfectly. Oh, and the guest before us? Yeah, the box completely missed Kylo's opening stare down, which may have probably been the best photo opportunity for him. But it wasn't in the box's range, and so it couldn't get it, nor could it get around and get the proper angle. Certainly one that I would have wanted to buy before that pose shot that it got of us that was so terrible. So here's everything wrong with these camera boxes. They can't get the candids. They can't move around. They can't get the side angles. They can't zoom in on what's going on. They're not even aware of what's going on, so they completely miss those incredible personal moments. Like the Kylo Ren stare down. Like a kid that's hugging on Tinkerbell. The cameras aren't going to get those. If they do, they're so zoomed out and out of focus and bad exposure, which is terrible for a camera. And they can't turn the angles and get the best angles for it. And they're probably, honestly, because they're just shooting random times, they're probably missing those moments anyways. The timing is so random that it obviously has no clue what's going on. How much do these boxes miss? With my whole long thing with Tinkerbell, there were a couple moments of personal interaction there, but the box completely missed it because it just randomly shot in between. It was really sad. There's also completely unaware of what's going on, which is something that wouldn't happen with a real photographer. Again, I mentioned inappropriate shots. If people are acting inappropriately, behaving inappropriately, wearing something inappropriate, anything at all like that, the box is not going to have a clue. It's just going to take the photos. As opposed to a photographer being able to correct it and say, hey, do this, fix that, change that, hide this. And then the people can still get the photos and still get good photos that way, as the photographer takes care of it. The idea of expecting a guest to scan their magic band. Again, I'm speculating on this one, but I've worked at Disney long enough to know how many times as a photographer I would have people walk away from me after I was done shooting and not get a Photopass card, just assume that they had it. Hey, wait a minute, don't forget your card! I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that walk away with those photos and other people end up with them, and that's going to be a mess. It really is. They're taking away from the Disney experience. They're cutting staff hours, they're cutting staff pay, and that's the major goal. Let's eliminate as many photographers as possible so we don't have to pay them. And it's a cost-cutting measure, but it's also cutting the guest experience. It's reducing the quality of the pictures. And the ultimate deal is they're killing what's making the money. With Photopass, when it first came out, anybody can take a picture of a family in front of the castle. Okay, they don't always take a great photo, but what really sold Photopass to people, what really grabbed them, was the candids, was the interactions with the characters. It was those photos that the guests could not get themselves, because 99% of them don't know how to use a camera, or they want to be in it. And these boxes can't get those photos. It is absolutely impossible for them to do it. They cannot move around. They can't zoom in. They're not aware. There's no way for them to grab that photo. The only photos that these are really getting that are worth buying are the posed photos, which the guests are getting by handing their cameras to the attendant who's taking the same photo the box is. So when you walk out and you look at your pictures and you go, oh look, I got a nice photo on my camera. Oh look, I got a bunch of junk on Photopass and a picture that looks like the one on my camera. Why am I going to spend money on the ones when I've already got the same thing free? So really what they're doing is they're shooting themselves in the foot and they're killing their whole revenue stream with it. And they don't even seem to realize this or have a clue, because you got some programmer in an office that never gets out into society and probably isn't married. I don't know. But it makes you wonder what's going on inside. Marty Sklar has his 10 commandments of guest service, and one of his big things is to get out and walk in the park and be in the guest shoes. And I can guarantee you, the people that are setting this up have not been in the guest shoes, and they have not experienced this, and compared it to what the old experience was, it's very obviously missing. It's frustrating because I know that Disney is putting a lot of money into this system without realizing that it's going to bite them in the end. They don't seem to realize that at this point, they're better off just calling it a loss and going back to the photographers, because really, long term, they're going to make more money. Then by pushing forward on this, they're going to kill their photography staff. And what's going to happen is they're going to lose money that they're investing. They're going to lose all the money on the sales. And there's going to come a point that if they want to rebuild this, they're going to have to invest a lot more money to rebuild the whole system, as opposed to having what's already there. And long term, let's be honest, They're probably going to eventually try to put these boxes out in the parks themselves, shooting pictures of the castle and other stuff. In fact, I know when I first started, there was actually a proposal at one point to do that, and instead they went away from the boxes and went over to the photographers. Partially because they realized that a box can't get the same picture. You can't get a box to tell a child to look at the camera. You can't get a box to make a crying child laugh. You can't get a box to be able to coach guests to pose properly as opposed to just standing there like this. But a photographer can. And that's one of the big ways that they make a huge difference. At this point, here's my suggestions. If you're going to Walt Disney World and you're going to one of the character locations that has a box, give your camera to the attendant or to a friend who's not going to be in the pictures, or even to the next person in line. Have them shoot the photos, because the photos they're going to shoot are probably going to be as good as the box. And they're more likely to get the candid than the box will. So hand your camera off, get the pictures on your camera. Don't count on that box to get it, because they're not very good. If most of your pictures at Walt Disney World are going to be with characters, and these characters have the boxes, oh man, this hurts to say as a former Photopass photographer. If you're looking at just character pictures of the majority of your Photopass pictures, and they're coming from the boxes, don't spend the money on Memory Maker. Don't waste it. Because the truth is, you're going to get better pictures on your camera having somebody else take it than Memory Maker will, and it will be a waste of money. And I can't imagine myself ever having said that about Photopass. If you're still going to be out in the parks, you're getting lots of outdoor shots and things like that, Memory Maker is still worth it. But if the only pictures you're really thinking about getting are just with a few of these characters, like Minnie, Mickey, Tinkerbell, Anna, Elsa, the Star Wars characters, some of those, if that's your whole point, at this point I would almost say Memory Maker is not worth it, and it's not going to get to be a better value the more boxes they put in. And that hurts. That really hurts, because I'm a huge believer in Photopass, and I'm a huge believer in the system, and I love the fact that we built this incredible system that people said would make their vacation, because they could put their cameras aside and just enjoy, and unfortunately that is no longer the case in too many of these spots. And that's a horrible, horrible thing. And it's not going to change, unfortunately, unless people really start writing into Disney, unless they let them know that, hey, we did not buy a Memory Maker this time because we weren't going to waste our money in these boxes. We didn't buy individual pictures this time when we would have, because the pictures are horrible and we had better on our own camera. Until Disney starts seeing it in their bottom line, they're probably not going to change anything. They're going to keep pushing this forward. Because right now, unfortunately, you've got a number of people that are pushing penny pinching, save money now, and they're not thinking long term. Also, I don't think they have a clue about long term. You're not realizing how much it's going to affect future enjoyment for guests. Right into guest relations. Let them know. Tell them. Because until Disney realizes this is going to affect the bottom line, they're going to keep pushing it forward. Until Disney realizes that people really don't like this and aren't going to use it, they're going to keep pushing it forward until you get some big wigs up there who realize that, hey, this is something that's going to affect our bottom line. Because Photopass, after a year and a half, when I started, was the biggest money-making division in the parks. We made more profit and more money off than anything else in the parks because people love buying their pictures. And this is going to dramatically affect that. I hope they realize it. I hope they realize it. So, what are your thoughts about this? Are you in favor of the boxes? Do you like what they do? Are you satisfied? Are you against them? Do you agree with me or disagree with me? I would love to hear. Please share it in the comments below. Don't forget to hit like and share this video too. If you got a Disney fan out there who likes going to the parks, let them know about this, and now they can see what's going on. I also want to give a huge shout out to my patrons. I have some of the best patrons who financially support me and allowed me to do things like get down to Walt Disney World and be able to make this video. So they are a huge support. I want to give a shout out to my two newest patrons. A big welcome back to Michael Carr. Thank you for coming back. Hey, life happens sometimes, so I'm happy to have you. And also a big welcome to Joseph Anderson. If you want to know more about Patreon and supporting me, or about merchandise, websites, and all that, check the description below. There's a ton of information there for you. Thank you so much for watching, and God bless. Automatic Photopass. Okay, try that. Scratch that whole paragraph. And not realizing. If you'd like to know about my merchandise, fan pages, and more, be sure to check the description below. If you'd like to know whenever I've got a new video posted, well, make sure you hit that button right up there and subscribe. If you'd like to watch another one of my videos, I've got a great one for you right here. And if you'd like to be like these wonderful people here and support me financially on Patreon, well, make sure you check the link right there. There's even some extra perks for them. Thank you so much, and God bless.